This is episode 111 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 111 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have James Fernandez on the show, and James is a really impressive guy because in less than 2 years, he's built his portfolio up to over 20 properties, and the majority of that is not with joint ventures. This guy is crafty, he's smart, he finds creative ways to fund his projects, and he's really good at raising private money. So James obviously seems to be a quick learner. He actually started out once he heard Matt McKeever and Jeff Weibo speak at the OREC conference. I believe it was 2019 that he sort of got the bug there, and he's been moving quite quickly. Started off in his duplex, which he converted, and he's living in the basement. So he's doing a little bit of a house hack, and it's allowed him to grow quite aggressively. He's actually partnered with a couple of previous guests that have been on this podcast, including Taylor Sears and Jeremy Ivany. So a lot of smart people putting their heads together, and I'm confident that you're going to get a lot out of this episode. James is presently dealing with the hurdles of how to scale his business, how to start delegating tasks and hiring help, which are things that we all encounter as we grow. And I thought it was a really cool discussion. I do apologize if James's mic was a little bit hot for this interview, so I've done my best to balance that out. As always, please make sure that you leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you listen to the audio version, and if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you always get notified when a new episode hits. Lastly, share this episode with somebody you think it might help. If there's other people in your life that you think could benefit from the concepts taught here, by all means, share it with them. Who knows, you might just change somebody's financial future. And if any of the terminology in this podcast is new to you, or if you ever come across something you don't understand, I strongly recommend just going right back to the very beginning of this podcast so that you can nail down the nuts and bolts. We really dig into the basic fundamentals in the first 10 episodes. So I do strongly encourage that. It'll help get you a better footing so that you can continue on listening to this podcast and developing your knowledge base. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 111 with James Fernandez. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have James Fernandez on the show, and you might have heard that name. He's doing big things. So James, first off, thanks for being here.
No worries at all. I know you're out in Florida still, and no plans of coming back for the near future until we get this shit sorted out over here. So
as long as I can stay, I can stay. I mean, I'm sure there's no time where I have to, but yeah, I mean, I'd be okay to stay right till June, but I don't know if Jordan's on board with that.
Fair enough. I actually really like that you're at a stage in your business where you can be so hands off, and I'm really looking forward to that stage in my business as well. Working on getting there and building that structure and system right now.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll dig into that and kind of what you're up to. But
Sure.
I had to really think about that because I've been talking about this a lot with some higher level people these days about creating systems and the who not how thing. I'm reading that book, and it's long overdue. I should have read that book a long time ago. But I've really done it well on the construction side. I'm really able to not be there because I've had that team built out over the course of 6 years. The admin side is the next step for me, and that's been a very critical one. What about you? Tell me about your business just before we kind of get too tangent here. Tell me about what you do as an investor, what your business is surrounding real estate.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been real estate investing, I guess officially. My first real estate property I purchased February 18th, 2020. So kind of 1 year and a few days. Prior to that, it was OREC 2019. So like April or so, end of April 2019, where I went to that real estate conference with Matt McKeever and Jeff Weibo hosting here in London, Ontario. That kind of opened my eyes to seeing what I could really do. I did a bunch of research, started converting so I'm living in my basement apartment right now. It's a 1-bedroom basement apartment. I converted the upstairs into an Airbnb and the downstairs into a livable separate dwelling, secondary dwelling or duplex unit. That was, I guess, how I got started. From there, using the BRRRR method to just refinance and use that money to repeat into multiple other properties, and currently sitting at 24 different properties and 48 roughly units.
That's a pretty wild number to hear done in 12 months roughly.
I don't know though. Like what's
the story there?
It's just literally copying what everyone else has done. Really not reinventing anything here. I think the people that have shared their stories, yourself included, Kellen, Jeremy, Corey, one of my business partners, Mina. There's Matt McKeever, Mike Roser. Like all these guys, they're so influential and they share everything. So just watch and copy. Like it's nothing more special than that. Yeah.
Copying is important, and yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Don't try and reinvent the wheel, but once you get a certain level of sophistication, you can innovate, and then from there, that's where the wealth potential gets astronomically larger. So if I understand this correctly, because I think I had a bit of a background on you, I think you might have even emailed me this, but you have a lot of joint ventures in your portfolio, do you not?
I have 2 joint ventures. One of them is Jeremy and Taylor. So you know them very well out in Chatham, and the other is Mina Gurgis, and that's another joint venture partner of mine. Everything else that I own is like privately owned or personally owned or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So you were able to BRRRR. I mean, we're talking over 20 properties without joint ventures inside of a year?
The joint ventures were a huge part of that. Don't get me wrong. So with Jeremy and Taylor, I was the money partner. So I was bringing capital, I was bringing like the down payment and qualification. That's basically a possibility for me early stages. Getting capped out kind of quickly after that, because it doesn't kind of matter how much money you make or have, you always need more. So beyond that, switching into a joint venture partnership where we're bringing different aspects of the business, but not aspects of the money. So that's more on the commercial lending side, raising capital, and then doing larger deals where we're raising money for those deals rather than bringing the money individually.
So were all these properties BRRRRs then? They couldn't have been. Like, I'm just thinking, don't even answer me yet. 24 properties, I think you said 24 properties inside of a year, unless you had a different crew working on each one. I just don't even think there's a way construction crews could finish the work in that time frame. So, yeah, it's a little ridiculous when you put it like that, but yeah, it's not full. Like, not all of them are fully BRRRR'd yet. So the first property, so the one that I'm staying in right now, this one so the reason I got into real estate investing in general was because I wanted to own a Tesla, and I was living in my mom's basement at the time. I had a good job. I'm still working at the same company and everything, and I was like, technically I could afford this car, but I would never leave this basement. So I need to figure out a way to afford this car without also like staying in my mom's basement forever. So I was trying to figure out different ways for passive income, because I didn't really want to take on anything more. And at the time I was like, well, you know what, I should probably move out. I found a house that had a garage to charge the car, and it just happened to have like a good setup. Like, I was looking for a different setup so that one of my friends could rent the basement apartment, and they were paying me enough rent that I could then really subsidize the cost of the car. But then at that point, the Model 3 was just about to come out, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just wait for the cheaper one. It seems more reasonable, less kind of idiotic to just blow this crazy money in a car. Long story short, Tesla dropped me into real estate, and then from real estate, I realized there's more and more potential into passive income. And that's sort of what got me started there. And I think I'm just kind of rambling right now, and I lost track of your question. It's good. Well, I mean, I am going to dig on this more. So out of 24 properties purchased since February last year, so 12 months ago, how many are completed as BRRRRs?
Let's see. I actually wrote this down because I knew I was going to just lose track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another 3 are almost there.
Where are you buying?
London, Ontario, primarily, then Chatham with Jeremy Taylor, and then I have a set of condos in Corunna as well as one of my joint ventures.
Like closer to Sarnia, right?
Sarnia, yeah, just outside of Sarnia, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty nice little town.
And tell me a little bit about your background. What did you study in school? What do you do for work? What kind of capital did you bring into this?
Sure, yeah. So I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Waterloo and graduated in 2015. I work still as an engineer at a company here in London, Ontario. So yeah, that's, I guess, my background in work. What capital I brought into the deal, I saved up $12,500 for my 5% down payment on the property that I'm in right now at $245,000 purchase price. Spent about 40 grand in renovating. I did all the renovations myself down here because I didn't know any better at the time. And I was like, oh, I'll just learn it off YouTube and it'll be great. I'll save a bunch of money. Spent about 40 grand and it refied at 425, which is great. Not buy anything fantastic. I did just the housing market in London.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty nuts. I think I could refi it again without doing anything right now for closer to 525, based on the comps around me, but I haven't stepped into that pool yet.
Did you see Kellen posted like an old East Village house,
his duplex
sold for like 200,000 over asking or something?
Yeah. Well, that was his, I think.
Oh, you sold his own? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man, it's insane right now. The market's absolutely insane right now. So, yeah, that's sort of, I guess, where I started. I realized very quickly after it took me like 6 months to reno, every day after work, that type of nonsense.
So this house you're in now, you started last February renovating it?
No, it was slightly before that. Yeah, my first like actual rental property. So I refied this house just before that purchase, like February, I don't know, 15th, 10th, something like that.
Okay, so here's my disconnect right now.
Yes.
So your 6 properties done, no, 5 done,
mm-hmm.
which means only 5 could be refinanced for now, yet somehow you have 24. So
yes.
I have 19 that have not been BRRRR'd that are somehow purchased when you came in with 5% down payment on your first one. So where's the
capital coming from?
Yeah.
So raising money has become something that is kind of ridiculously easy with social media. By creating a good business structure, a good business plan, and coming to investors with something strong, you're able to raise the money that you need for the commercial mortgages. Okay. And
are you doing mortgages or promissory notes?
For the privates, prom notes on those.
Yeah. Okay, so you're generating a whole bunch of promissory notes. What kind of interest rates would you typically pay out on that stuff?
It's 8 to 10% typically that I'm paying out.
Yeah. I've done very similar. So yeah, that would be my ballpark as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8 to 10%. That's quite a bit of burn though. If you've got 19 properties that are sitting in the queue.
You bet.
What's the reason to have bought those and have them in the queue when they're not being worked on, unless you have enough teams to work on all of them at once now, which I imagine you don't sleep if that's what you're doing.
I don't sleep, and they're almost done actually. So I have 1 unit left that's not renovated. And that is in process right now. 2 others are being turned over, tenant move out, move in type of thing, just as a natural type of process. One of them is a cash for keys. So I guess I need to reno 3 more units in the portfolio. And then I'm done renovations for now.
Okay, so the idea would be to refinance these all. I'm guessing you're going to have to go commercial, and I think you know that.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the podcasts.
You bet.
So you've got a lot of properties there. There's no way residential lenders are going to be okay with all of that. But
hell no.
You go into it knowing that. What kind of LTVs? Like, let's go through an example.
Sure.
And try and give me like an average one, so we can see like what's going to happen if you're not, it's not a grand slam home run, but maybe it's a single, and we'll talk about how those numbers work and how that fits with your overall strategy. So let's pick one.
Sure. Yeah.
Tell me what you bought it for.
Okay, I can go, I think you've already covered one of my properties with Taylor, and one of them, that was Harvey Street in Chatham, so I'm not going to talk about that one. That one is fully BRRRR'd.
Okay.
We can talk about one that, I guess I can do my Florence one. It's the first duplex that I bought. So that one it's an okay, it's like a 0 BRRRR. So purchase price for that one was $215,000, and that includes the $15,000 wholesale fee.
Okay. And then you renovated that one for how much?
$100,000. I had
carrying costs.
That's right, including everything. So it was actually about 107 or so, but I got quite a bit back in rebates from the Union Gas and whatever. It was about 100 grand.
Oh, okay. You did the energy rebates. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got an appraisal when you were done?
That's right. It reappraised at $400,000.
Okay. So then your new mortgage on that would at 75%, but you probably got an 80% on the first one.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So at 80.
So I wanted to give you a residential example, and then I'll give you a commercial example in a sec.
Okay. So that one, it looks like your net investment's like minus $5,000 or roughly break even. Let's just work out the cash flow on that one. So
sure.
rents on that one, what do they look like?
So duplex upstairs $1,650, downstairs $1,250, and they pay their own electricity.
Okay, so 2,900 gross rent. What are your taxes there? Approximately like $3,000.
It's actually $1,900 a year.
Did you get a permit on that when you did the work, or is that just?
It's already a permitted duplex, and all I did was cosmetic stuff.
Okay, so that's good. If you did do a permit, then they'd come back in and double your taxes on you.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta love that.
Yeah, it's already R2-2 zoning here in London, and legal duplex already, which was kind of a steal of a deal there.
That's a big benefit. Okay, so maintenance, if you just freshly renovated, it's probably not that much. You could I like to say a little bit more.
I did $1,800 a year, roughly 17, 18.
Yeah, so you're figuring like 6% or something. Okay, utilities, you are paying some, correct?
Yep. So I pay a little bit there. I pay gas. It's about $600, $700 a year, and then they pay electricity, and I pay water. So it's about $800 a year, roughly. Okay,
so you're about $1,500 in utilities. Management, are you paying a manager?
No, I'm not, but I set aside about 4% for management, and that just covers like if I need someone else to go do stuff. And a virtual assistant that I'm hiring right now. So,
all right. Well, we're going to talk more about that because that's a hot topic for me right now. We'll dig into that more. But okay, lawn cutting and snow removal. Are you leaving that to the tenants? Have you worked that out so that they know exactly what they're each responsible for?
Yes. So they're technically responsible for lawn cutting and snow removal, but I've budgeted $1,200 a year for that, and I set that aside for whatever else comes up.
Okay, so you got a value of $400,000. So you're at a $400,000 value on this. It looks like your cap rate of about just short of 5%, which is actually pretty good. Your debt coverage ratio would be, this is if we were doing it commercial, we would want to look at this. Mm-hmm. So at 80%.
Most lenders that I'm talking to are looking at like a 1.15 to 1.2 type of thing to start.
1.2 is pretty standard, but they'll flex. Okay, so on that first one, you get like a 2.5% interest rate though on the Florence property.
It's actually like a 1.69 right now, but when I first started, it was it was like a 2.5 type of thing.
So at a 1.69 on a 30-year amortization, you'd be a mortgage payment of about $1,130, and you'd have $508 or so. We'll call it $500 in cash flow, approximately.
Yep.
And
that sounds right.
Budgeting for the 4% that you don't really pay, but you got to compensate yourself. Like you should build in a cost for that. And then I like to include $500 miscellaneous for just whatever. Mm-hmm. You're really nice that the taxes are not going to go up on you. Hopefully, MPAC gets wind some other way. But, that seems to be the trigger. If they see a building permit was taken out, then they just come out and they thank you for adding value to the neighborhood by
you bet
pay more for your own property. It just the idea of property taxes is just most ridiculous thing.
So arbitrary. So I made a bunch of mistakes on that property, man. Like that $100,000. Like I did another duplex shortly after that, and I'm working on something very similar now. And that 100, like it got broken into. I over renovated. Yeah, like all this. There's so much shit that went wrong. I over renovated. I found like all sorts of garbage that I probably should have just left alone. But whatever. Like at the time in my head, I was like, oh, I'm right down the street from like this new tourist attraction. It's the Factory here in London. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to turn this into a fantastic Airbnb. It's going to be a luxury Airbnb, like quartz countertop, everything, brand new everything. Blah, blah, blah. I ran my numbers off of rental with the hope that I could get this Airbnb extra income, and it didn't work out. But the rental income is more than enough to carry the property. The tenants are freaking fantastic. So it's
Yeah.
something I don't really think about that much.
This is a real life example of my plan A, B, and C requirement. So I'm doing this exact same thought process right now down in Florida to look at Airbnb potential, because there's huge potential, but it's got to work the exact same way that you've made this work. It's got to work rented to regular families, because otherwise something like this happens, or the city regulates Airbnb and says you can't do it anymore, and all of a sudden you're out of luck.
Exactly. And like for me at the time I was entering, so February 2020, it's like peak COVID shit. So right around the time when construction ended on that place, I was like, oh my God, my property's gonna go up crazy in value. This is sweet. People are gonna be loving this place. It's down the street. You can get drunk over there and walk home in 5 minutes. Like, this is amazing. And then it's like, factory shut down. I was like, wait, what the fuck? God damn it, what do I do now? So that's fun.
Crazy that you kept building so aggressively through all that. A lot of people stalled, myself included. I didn't really want to be aggressive through all that, but
I didn't really have any other choice. Like, I shouldn't say that. My choice was to not take any action at a point where I had kind of nothing. And then the other choice was to do something while everyone else is not. So I decided to, like, in my head, how I rationalize it. I'm 29 right now. Worst case scenario, I lose absolutely everything, go bankrupt for 7 years. And then I'm 36 and I just get my first credit card again. I'm at 36 years old, but the whole time I'm still working. Like, I still have my day job and whatever else. So in my head, that was the rationale. I was like, oh, fuck it. Like, I'll pay cash for everything for the next 7 years. So
it's not even, that's a different conversation. It's not even 7. It's only, for first time bankrupts. I used to work in mortgages. It's 2.
Oh yeah, fair. Oh, there you go.
And then you can get credit cards again. So, you probably have to start with a secured credit card, but there is a way, for people who go through that to rehabilitate themselves a lot quicker. But it'll be on your credit bureau for 7 years. They'll be able to see that it happened. But after that, then it's like clean slate. They can still figure it out though, because they'll see stuff isn't that old. The clever ones can figure you out, but a lot of them won't get it. Okay, so that's
sort of where it's coming from.
Yeah, I like that people will do things like that when they're early on. Like, you just say, hey, what do I got to lose? What's my, if I don't do it, here's what I'm gonna have to look forward to. And if I do it, something bad could happen, but I could also really, make sure that I do a good job and make it happen. So my fear of ourselves in it, right? Like, we control our situation, and I think the investors that fail are the ones that think that the control is outside of themselves. That this contractor screwed me or this happened. No, that's not the case. Like, yes, those things can happen, but respond to them.
And for me at least, the fear of not doing it was way more than the fear of failing, and that was that's the main thing for me there. It's like, okay, like, if I don't do this, then I still have this job, which I love my job. That's why I haven't quit it. And I still I finally got my car that I wanted. That's great. But then what? Like, I don't know. There's more. Like, you can do more. You should do more if you can. So
why was the fear of failing great for you?
I don't know. Like, there's such an easy path laid out by all these people, like yourself included in that list, where it's just like, just do these things. It's not that freaking hard. And then you set yourself up for something different, something better, something more. And if someone gives you such a, take this left foot forward here, take this right foot forward here, and you don't do it, who's the idiot really? Come on, you have to. And then, so if I'm just sitting at home, staring at the ceiling or watching Netflix or whatever, Tiger King, I don't know, whatever's on these days, but I could be just in that 15 minutes messaging, I don't know, a few mortgage brokers or a couple contractors and setting up something, or doing both at the same time. I don't know. Then you probably should. And I couldn't not.
So it was just a kind of a FOMO almost. If
I guess
doing it, I need to be able to do it, and I need to make it.
I guess so. Yeah, in a sense, it wasn't out of a comparison. Jeremy and I talked a lot about that, where a lot of social media, we have an urge to compare ourselves to others quite aggressively, and that's why I don't know if you've gone on my Instagram page. I don't really like that. The one last post that I did was the first time I really shared the number of units that I have and like what type of whatever, like the number of doors. I don't usually like talking about that stuff because I don't know if it matters really that much. Like it's kind of a vanity metric. Like if you have 1 billion doors, if each is losing $1, you're losing $1 billion. Like it kind of doesn't matter as much. But I really like sharing where I'm getting stuck or where I'm failing, because I get so much feedback from people. Like I had posted a grocery cart full of like needles that I found in one of my duplexes. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like I just found these goddamn needles. It's a shopping cart full of like sharp spins. And people were like, hey, you can just call the city and they'll just come get them. Like you don't have to carry them into Shoppers Drug Mart like you did the last time or whatever else, like the feedback is great. Or if I get stuck on some other random thing, it's the community is just so helpful. Yeah. And I find that interaction really fulfilling rather than just saying, hey, like I have 8 billion properties and here's my Lambo, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I think that there's a certain amount of establishing credibility if you're talking about something, but at the same time, if people know you and know your reputation and what you share, you really don't need that. Yeah. So that's valuable to know that. Now, just before we get sidetracked here, I did just want to say what I see on these numbers. So we figure about $500 in cash flow on that first one. Pay down on your mortgage would be about $8,700 a year, and then you have that's averaged over the 5 years. The first year would be less, and then you'd have I'd say 3% appreciation normally, although it's been way more. But if it was 3, that's $12,000, and then cash flow on a yearly basis is about $6,000. So that's about $26,000 a year in return. 6.8% return cash on cash, and then your return on investment is infinite since you don't have anything into it. So that cash on cash, would be if you had a full down payment, but you don't. So I mean, this is one of those deals where if somebody were to buy it from you at what you got it appraised at, you wouldn't have sold it for that anyway. Yeah. But, it would have been a fantastic deal for them. It would have been cash flowing from day one, which that's kind of a unicorn these days. Usually people have to create the cash flow. They've got to make it happen, right? Yeah. On that note, like I kind of wanted to talk about more on the commercial side, just to give whoever's listening an example of something a little bit different. So the one I wanted to talk about was another JV that I did with Jeremy and Taylor. This one's kind of unique because I structured, it's a fourplex again, but I put a commercial mortgage on it. And this is with RBC. And I know this, it sounds kind of weird to ask for a commercial loan rather than a residential loan because interest rates are higher and whatever else, and you have to put more money in and whatever else. But the reason that I wanted it structured that way is because the cap rate that they gave us on first appraisal was 9.5%, just like kind of garbage. Like in Chatham, we're seeing like between 6 and 7 right now, something like that. That's wild.
Which is wild, yeah. But the opportunity that we have to raise the rents over the course, it's a 2-year mortgage. Over the course of the next 2 years, it's insane how much that this building will appraise for. And granted, we probably won't get that high number, $600,000+ in Chatham with no comps to support that. But the potential is there, even if they reappraise it at 9.5%. So for something like that, it was a 75% loan to value. And so like I had to put a lot of money into the deal. We didn't have to do any renos there though. Like we spent very little. So that's sort of how I justified the difference there. And
can we run through these numbers real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So let's. What did you buy it for? So this is in Chatham.
This is in Chatham
that you did with Jeremy and Taylor, or a different one?
That's right.
You've done with them.
This is one I've done with Jeremy.
I asked them about.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. No, it's not that one. This one is just with Jeremy and Taylor, and the purchase price on this one was $320,000.
Okay, 320.
So something interesting. Just sort of before we get into that, something interesting that I got screwed on, because this is my first commercial mortgage. I know what the hell I was doing. I was like, oh, this cap rate thing sounds great. Let's do it. And it appraised at 314 based off of the current existing income.
So I bought it. So you went
right when I bought it.
Commercial mortgage on the way in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I never would do that.
Yeah. I know. That's what I mean. Like
privately and then refi. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so like that was the first surprise, where it's just like, oh, I have to come up with this extra $6,000 that I didn't plan for. So that was the first surprise. So purchase price was $320, but I had to come up with 75% loan to value on $314,000 plus that $6,000.
So a few grand more. So you're like 74% loan to value or something like that.
That's right.
So no reno there, or did you have a reno anyway?
Not really, no. We didn't really spend any money there. It's a fourplex with a garage that we're leasing separately. So the income on it is about $46,000 a year right now.
$46,000 a year?
Yeah. 46,404 to be specific.
Yeah, so you're gonna be, my sheet is miscalculating rent for me. Okay, so $46,000. We'll just say 46 to keep it easy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so continue on. So what are we looking at for, I'll just leave 3% vacancy rate in. I usually do that. Taxes, what are you paying on that building?
This one's more expensive. It's about $2,400 a year.
24, yeah. That's still low compared to my properties. Insurance, what are you paying on that building?
$2,752. So one thing I kind of learned in Chatham is that there's a lot of floods in the basement, so a lot of basements are unfinished, and insurance is kind of high for Chatham.
Oh, okay.
It's either that.
Is it because it's in a floodplain?
It doesn't seem to be, but like not all of it, at least.
In London, over in the Blackfriars neighborhood, that's in a floodplain, most insurance policies, the reason they're not expensive down there is they just don't cover flood. So if you get, and so it's in a 100-year floodplain, so they assume that your house is going to be underwater at least partially once every 100 years. I don't know if I buy that anymore because they've really reinforced the one side of the river. But if you talk to like Mark Snowcell down at Upper Thames, who I've talked to many times, they're legitimately concerned that one day it's going to be out of control and it's gonna flood. But no one really thinks about that. Like no one really does. Whether you believe it, whether you don't, it's interesting to know though. Okay, so insurance is a bit higher, and trust me, right now for everyone, like I have a 2-unit building. I just got the.
It went up a lot.
I was like $1,800 last year, $2,800 this year, like just $1,000 more. And it makes no sense. And the same thing, my student rentals, same type of thing. Like the old insurance company that used to insure them won't even insure them anymore. So I had to switch companies, and it's just crazy what's been happening with insurance. So everyone, you're making our policies go up.
I just went through, like, this is, I guess, my first year kind of dealing with, first of all, snow removal. That was a huge thing for me. I had totally not set any of that shit up because I'd not had to deal with snow before. So like getting snow removal, salting, all this other stuff, all the renewals for insurance, same thing. Like I think overall in the portfolio it was going to go up about $10,000 roughly. Just they're like, oh, this is just what it is. And
mercy, right? It's like an entire industry. It's almost like industry collusion. Like they're obviously playing off of each other because sees what the other's doing, because there's just no way that's a coincidence. They're all just watching each other's pricing and it not colluding, but sort of colluding.
So I started to sort of switch. Maybe a little background chatter overheard at the pub type of thing. I started talking to mutuals, which has been really helpful. That's been a really good cost saver there.
Mutuals? Oh, like okay, so basically the similar concept to a credit union but for insurance. Okay.
So that's been really nice.
Do you have an example of one in London?
I actually don't have one for London. It's Kent, though, I think. I'll make sure I'll write it down and I'll send you that.
Those would be useful, right? Because then they're not for profit. But the same thing would happen, right? If they had a bunch of claims in 1 year, then they're going to basically increase the next year to compensate. All right. So maintenance, what do you figure in there? It's an older building. You didn't do anything, so it might be nicer to budget a bit more.
So we have about $2,500 a year there.
Okay. So that would be. That's actually about 5%. Like for me, I'd probably go, you're 5-6%. I'd probably go a bit more, but I just like to be super like worst case scenario on that stuff. But anyways, let's just keep going through. So utilities, what are you paying for? What are you not paying for?
So the tenants pay we pay for everything right now, except for in one of the units, but it's separately metered for gas and electricity. So we'd only be paying water eventually. But right now it's about $2,000 a year for water and electricity, and about $1,600 a year for gas.
That's really not bad for a fourplex. Okay, but they're all one beds, or are they two beds?
I think there's 3 2 beds and 1 bed. Honestly, I've never even been there.
That's the
Jeremy and Taylor, they're like, hey, this property's good. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And that's it. So I think I saw some pictures every now and then. And
like that, right? Like you got.
I trust them 1,000%. Yeah.
Relationships are everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You work with people you trust, because if you don't trust the person, there's always a way they can do something in the fine print. Like reputation really does matter, in my opinion.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, it's so easy with them for that. So
are you guys paying a manager, or are you budgeting for management? You paying them for management?
I think we budgeted, I think it was 5% for them in there. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. And then lawn cutting, snow removal, I'm sure they get a really good deal down there.
Yeah. We have it like on all of their stuff. So I think all of their properties, including like the stuff that we have together, just gets cut all on the same day type of thing. Right. So I think it's like a pretty good deal. I can't remember exactly.
800 a year or something.
Yeah, it's like quite a bit cheaper than what I'm able to get. Like management, I do see that we do have 5% management in there as well. Yeah.
I know that I pay quite a bit more for. I pay quite a bit more for snow and landscaping that I would need to. Like, I definitely know there are some people that pay a little bit less, but I like the guy that I work with. He's reliable. So we'll keep riding that one for now. But
absolutely, some things are just worth the money.
Yeah, like I'll pay a bit more for certain things if I know that I can count on that person. So, so we'll keep rolling through this. So what you figure it's worth? Well, let's not even do that. You got appraised at the 316, right?
316, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll put it in 320 here and just knock off that 1%. So your mortgage is around 237, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. So you're a 25 year, and you had what kind of interest rate on that?
That was a 3.2% interest rate. Still
really good. Really good.
Yeah. It's like all the interest rates are like, we're complaining like little babies right now, right?
Yeah.
We're oh my God, you're paying 3%. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, I have a 0.01% mortgage. How dare you pay 3% like that? We're a little spoiled right now.
Yeah, we are. It's definitely not bad. You can't complain about it for that, but what it's really doing is it is contributing to driving the price of everything up, because people
for sure
more, right? Okay, so
the other thing too that
go ahead.
The other thing too that kind of worries me for a lot of the people reaching out, maybe to you too on Instagram or whatever else, they're like, oh my God, like this property's great. It cash flows $200 a month after expenses. And I was like, yeah, but like what interest rate are you using? They're like, oh, I'm using 1%. I was like, but like that's not going to be 1% forever. And like, how much our rent's going to go up? So like, run your numbers maybe at 2%. Run your numbers maybe at like 2.5%. Just like be a little bit safe. I don't know what's going to happen first. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know in general, but like
my parents had to renew their mortgage in the 80s, and not at the 20%, but they got a renewal offer, I think at 18 or 17%. And they had to sell their house. I'm surprised they were able to sell their house. When I hear that story, I wish I'd asked them more questions. I could ask my mom still. I don't know if she'd remember the details. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine being faced with that and what that would do? You'd like to think that we're evolved past that, but I think if anything, the average man or woman knows less about mortgage interest rates and how our system works and monetary policy works now than they did then.
Oh man!
So it's concerning, because what happens if, like what I expect, inflation does go rampant?
Yeah,
I really do expect that to happen.
It's a matter of time. Yeah.
What happens when it does? In the normal way they control inflation is by
raising
interest rates.
Yeah.
So if they do, first off, that creates a government crisis because of the amount of debt that they've taken out. But then what does it do when our 5-year renewals are up and then all of a sudden you have a quarter of your portfolio renewing at more than
at 20%? Yeah.
20%. And then if everyone has that problem, then the market floods with inventory and the price gets driven down. So this is not going to be doomsday, but we do need to think about those possibilities and then think, okay, how can I hedge myself against that happening on all of my properties at once?
Yeah.
If I can just take a couple 3-year terms, take a 10-year term, a 5-year term,
ladder it.
Yeah, you just try and separate it and diversify your rates so that you're not going to get smacked around all at once if something happens.
That's sort of what I'm working on right now, because like everything sort of is going to be renewing all at the same time. So I'm trying to structure it so it's a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year.
Grab a couple of 10 years in there while things are low, man. It's not a bad hedge against what might happen. In the States, they're really sheltered because they can get 30-year mortgages, so things can go crazy and you're protected all the way through. It surprises me that, Canada is generally a little bit more liberal with regulation than the US, yet somehow they've got that, which is clearly more to the benefit for their citizens than
that's really interesting.
Tangent here, but
it's cool. It's cool little side talk. Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, so your cash flow on this place looks like it would be about $1,300 a month, which is a quality cash flow not a lot of people ever see. And so your yearly pay down about $7,000, just short. And then if we figure 3% appreciation, that's just sort of 10 grand. So your total return on that's like 32 grand. Cash on cash return for your down payment is about 17%. So you're getting 17% on your actual cash invested. And then your overall return, which includes your pay down and your appreciation, and these are hypothetical appreciation numbers, about 35%. So that sure beats the savings account. It beats mortgage investing. It beats a lot of things. But of course, this type of thing isn't as hands off. You're splitting this investment with Taylor and Jeremy, right?
That's right. So I guess a little bit more on that. Like right now, our average rent per unit is about $900,000 roughly. That's quite low for the 2 beds. And kind of average for the 1 beds in Chatham that we're seeing right now. So if the rents are up to market, maybe $1,200, $1,250, $1,300, something like that, in the 2 beds, and maybe about $1,050 or so in the 1 bed. That's sort of where I'm coming from over the next year or so. If that cap rate even stays at that shit 9% or 9.5%, it's still okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy it from you at a 9%. How's that sound?
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, that sounds okay. I mean, there's going to be buyers that's a silly appraisal, and you can get that if you get certain appraisers that don't really know their stuff. There are guys out of London that understand the value of this type of asset and might be a little bit more liberal. The beauty with commercial is that you should be able to pick your own appraiser. So if you're financing this with one of your own banks, as long as they as long as they address the appraisal to that lender or provide you with a letter of transmittal, which means you can use it for that lender, then you can actually just say, hey, I have an appraisal, here it is. And they won't do that with residential, but last time I tried, they were still doing it with commercial. Yeah, no, same for me. That was a lesson learned. That was again my first commercial mortgage. I didn't know anything about anything. And they're like, appraisal for you? They did, yeah. So it's RBC did that. Yeah, that was definitely a bad idea. Appraisal, right? They're going to pick the appraiser that's going to be really conservative. Hell yeah, and I didn't know at the time, right? So lessons learned. So you could easily go back. I mean, I don't know what the commercial term is like, if you read through the fine print and to see if you'd be able to break it and increase it, but they may want to see you through at least the first year before they look at that. That's what I mean. I got 2 years on this thing before I have to renew. And at that point, I just won't renew with them. I'll go I'm building relationships with other commercial lenders now anyway. So that's just what it's going to be. It doesn't really, I know more now than I did back then in general. Yeah, and that's the thing. You just fail forward with this stuff. It's not really a fail. It's just not as good a deal as you could have got. And then in the future, you'll probably do much, much better. I hope so. This deal seems great. I think that, Chatham has its own, list of potential concerns. I don't know about Chatham, but tell me some of the things you see that concern you about Chatham, and tell me what you like about Chatham. I like the cash flow in Chatham. I like the proximity to Windsor, and that's sort of the 2 things I like about it. There's some solid properties that are well built. The things I kind of don't like about Chatham are the core economy is okay. A lot of people bring up the unemployment in Chatham and blah blah blah. London has worse unemployment than Chatham. I'm not looking at anything like that, but it's the industry supporting. So
the industry supporting Chatham is kind of limited in comparison to most cities in general. So that's kind of the other concern. But from what I'm seeing now, especially like with a lot of tenants coming to London from Toronto, you don't have to work in the city to work in the city anymore, right? So I don't know, like it's been strong rental income, strong tenant applications. Like there's not really much to like about Chatham, in my opinion. But there's not enough to dislike to not invest there, based off of the data that we're seeing for the tenant profile, their rental income, and the type of properties that are there.
Well, it's super affordable for the average Canadian, so that's naturally going to draw some people there. Where do you see most of your tenants working? I mean, are you familiar with the type of job or the job profile that they have?
Zero clue, and like that is 100% offloaded to Jeremy Taylor there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like it's a hub for its area, right? There's nothing, unless you go to Windsor or London, there's nothing bigger closer than those two cities. So
I would say
it's a bit of a hub for its area. So it's probably got some shopping that people come in for. So you've got services that provide for the shoppers, and then retail, of course, and then you're going to have that. They have an okay downtown. It actually is a quaint looking downtown. And I know there's some improvements and money going in down there now.
Yeah,
like for got all kinds of farming and everything. It's a very rural setting all around.
Yeah.
So,
the only way I kind of know Chatham is like I was in the Air Cadet gliding program and whatever else, and I'm a reservist now. And in Chatham we have one of our like gliding centers. So I've been going to Chatham, to the airport specifically in Chatham, for the last 15 years of my life, on weekends and stuff like that, every now and then. And that's how I knew about Chatham. And then like meeting Jeremy over nachos and beer and whatever else, and we weren't even talking about joint venturing together or anything. But I knew he was investing in Chatham. And then when he brought forward the first property that we bought together, it was just like, I like you, man. This property looks good. Let's do it. And that was kind of how we started working together. So.
Nice. So I mean, I think that's kind of how it happens with a lot of people, right? Like just talking numbers loosely. It's not an intense sales pitch. Are you familiar with any of the major employers down there though, or not really?
Not even no.
Curious. I haven't really looked into it that deeply. Like I have a general feel for what it's about. It seems like a pretty slow and steady kind of town. Not a whole lot going on.
I think it's like all employs itself type of thing. The economy like just sort of circles the money around, and
it has to be, right? Because when you're the hub for the area, you have to be self-sustaining. You have to have your grocery stores, your retail stores. You have to have everything that immediate area needs. So as long as it doesn't go crazy to a point where the area can't sustain it, in my mind, that kind of makes it a safe bet. But once it starts getting like 17, 20,
the tipping point,
then it starts to become less interesting to me. But you're still going to have people who are working from home, people who are London-based that maybe can only come in a couple of times a week. Their employer lets them, and they move to Chatham, right? We can get more house there. We can get nice houses there. Those things are going to happen over time, and then new industries pop up in those cities to help support.
To support that, exactly, yeah. So to be perfectly honest, like that is one part of my portfolio that I am like so hands off. Yeah, and it's mainly because like Jeremy and Taylor have my like full trust, and I know they're absolutely good at what they do, and beyond good at what they do. They're great at what they do. So I just don't even think about it.
Yeah. So you just put the money in there. Did that tap you out, or at this point, or you because of your ability to raise private funds, you're just doing everything now with private P-notes?
Yeah, P-notes really helps. It was such a mindset shift, man. Like initially when I first was getting tapped out, it was just like, oh god damn it, like I'm running out of money. I need to find a way that someone will lend me money. And it was like begging in my head, like please, like give me some money and then I can keep doing what I want to do. And then it was just such a shift when I realized like, no, I'm providing, like these guys are getting freaking 0.5% in their savings account. Like that is ridiculous. Let's bump that up. Like let's get you 6, 8, 10%, whatever it is. And if you want to invest, this is the project. And like now I send my investors like pictures from Instagram, or just like I take a bunch of pictures and like, this is literally what I spent your $4,000 on. Here's the Lowe's receipt. this is it in progress, and they love that. Yeah. They're like, oh my god, like they freaking love it. So
are you just giving them an interest rate though, like what?
Yeah,
I wouldn't even include them in any of that.
They love seeing it though.
The loose conversation is, yeah, I got a project coming up. I'm going to be adding a unit. It's going to be really nice. You see my work. In investing, I can pay you this %. And that's pretty much the end.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, probably like, 4 or 6 months, something like that.
Yeah.
That's, I try not to get too into the detail, because if they're not an equity partner, they don't really need to know.
Fair enough.
And I like to put it back on, well, this isn't about necessarily the project. This is about, me. And
yeah, fair.
I wouldn't take it unless I had a reason for it. And
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of my approach. Now, I'm just curious what you do and how that's different. So
yeah,
because there's no right way of doing it.
Yeah. The reason I do it that way is because a lot of the people come into me, they really want to do the renovations, but they don't have a house to do the renovations on. So it's kind of like their own little HGTV episode where they see, oh my God, I spent this money and I'm making this return, and I, in their head, have built this house, so that like the progress or the story or the episode, I guess, for them is, here's the picture of the materials on the truck.
Yeah.
Here's it demoed. Here's it done. Here you go. And they're like, oh my God, this is great. Do you want more money? Yes, I do. Thank you, actually. So
that's amazing. So you're finding them through Instagram? Is that where these are coming from?
Instagram primarily, yeah. And then also friends and family that didn't know I was in real estate. Like I actually have separate, I guess, lives and separate Instagram accounts, I guess, where my personal stuff is just literally just food. And that's kind of it.
So what Instagram do I have? I have James.Ferns.
Yeah, that's my only real estate stuff. I don't really do anything else on there. And that is that's not where a lot of my former life or whatever else knows me at all. They don't know this guy who invests in real estate. So I'm slowly bridging the gap and then creating the crossover. But that's actually been quite good there. So
I actually do that too. People who follow me know I'm pretty terrible with social media, but no, there's room for improvement there. But I mean, with my Facebook, people who follow me on Facebook don't know really anything about what I do. So I mean, I don't want to just spam them with real estate stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I probably should just not care, because I am who I am, right? I do what I do, and if I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma sometimes. So I created the new Instagram for real estate, but then I literally entirely stopped using my old Instagram. So it's just stagnant for 3 years.
That's so funny. So that's actually where we started briefly talking about VAs and stuff, and that's sort of an area of focus that my future VA is going to be hitting up. So
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so tell me what your vision for this is, how you're going to mitigate your risk as you hand off control.
I'm so scared, man.
What you're thinking about.
I'm so scared. So the best way someone told me to think about this is that there's no control. Don't worry about the control. They're going to do it 50 to 80% as good as you're going to do it. Maybe. But it doesn't matter.
That's my worry. But you can coach people. It's so freaking silly the way I look at this. I've done it so much with the construction side, but it's just the admin side.
It's scary, man. I'm so scared.
Sorry, I'm not going to start off with giving away control of I'm not giving my logins to online banking. I would give credit cards to my employees, but it would have a limit on them so they couldn't overdo it.
That's where I'm at right now, man. I'm so scared, but at the same time, I know I have to do this. So I guess I have a plan where they're going to be starting with some of the data entry and some of the background work, creating my actual systems that I've been meaning to create instead of just stomping kind of blindly forward. So what I'm looking at there is my standardized renovation plan, which I have a rough idea of, my standardized materials list, which again, for every project, even though I hone it down a little bit more and more, there's always shit I miss. So I want to keep building that. Sort of a flow chart of actions when stuff happens, who to call. Those are the things I want my VA to start with and build on. From there, once I see their probably like smart enough to handle this kind of thing. Moving into the social media side of things. So like I have so many pictures and videos and like whatever else that I want to share. I don't even have time to type something up on Instagram. Like I don't even care to. At the end of the day, it's the last thing I want to do is go on Instagram and type something up. I just want to like be the mindless consumer content, like just scroll through and like all the pictures of people are doing cool stuff and then just go to bed. Like I don't want to like create something. It's not something that drives me like that. What else?
I feel the same about social. Like I want to be able to post, but I don't want to do any of the work to post. I like talking, like, but I want my podcast. Like I still do some of the editing myself.
Yeah.
I want to be able to so I have somebody that does like, 4 hours of the work per episode and just the rough editing. And then I do the finer stuff. I'm still like 4 or 5 hours posting per episode. I just want all that handled, like that's one thing to get rid of. And then there's so many things, like just one task at a time. I want that gone. I want managing my inbox gone. Like, check in a couple of days, let them do it and kind of fail forward like everything else. Right. I mean,
that's exactly it.
You gotta release that stranglehold.
That's what Nina was basically saying to me. He's like, dude, you just got to pull the trigger, just hire them and pay them. Just pay them until your brain realizes you got to create shit for them to do to get your money's worth, and then you'll figure it out.
I like hearing people with interesting ideas like that. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Where are you going to hire this person from? What are your expectations in terms of language, communication? Are they going to be involved in that? Go.
Yeah. So Sphere Rocket was recommended to me by Thomas Larini, just an investor I connected on via Instagram.
Okay.
He works with Wyland McGill, Austin Ye, Mayu, like all these guys. They all work together, and they all use Sphere Rocket. So basically, how their structure works is you pay like a $4,000 US kind of thing as a headhunter fee and a training fee and ongoing everything else fee, and then they find you a person that's for what you want to do, and they train them up a little bit and they train you as well. So they give you ways to build your systems for the VAs. And like I kind of don't want to butcher their whole business model, but I'm super interested and I'm gonna do it. So definitely look into them there. The other aspect that's kind of different from the other VA people that I looked into is with them you pay like, I don't know, a premium for them having the VA as their employee. But in this case, the VA is your international contractor. So it's just a set business expense. And there's no like tax implications or anything else that's kind of different. So I really like that. You set your price with them and everything like that directly. So that's sort of where I'm at.
What would the VA cost? Like what type of cost are you looking at?
So they kind of set their own price there. It's somewhere in the range of $2 to up to $10 per hour, and I say that like up to 10. That's phenomenal. And I was talking to Thomas, and his VA is doing templates and all their content, a lot of like presentations for investors, and a lot of their media stuff in general. And for like $4 an hour or whatever it is, that's pretty freaking good value. So that's sort of where I'm targeting, somewhere in the $3 to $5 range, roughly. Probably 40 hours a week of work.
Well, that's ridiculously awesome. I mean, I was contemplating paying much more for somebody local, which I still need to do. I mean, for my editing, I have to hand off a physical drive because the files are just too big.
Way too big,
the internet. I'm not going to do that through the internet. So editing's probably one of those things that I'll have to keep local. But the other stuff, it can get delegated. And I want somebody in my inbox. I really do. I want somebody tackling everything, tending to emails, prioritizing things, and bringing things to my attention that need to be at my attention. So I'd be very curious to follow up with you as you go through and to type, just treat it like a case study as you go through it and let us know how that process is going. So one other thing that was kind of neat that they mentioned was that they'll do a replacement if that person doesn't work out. They'll do a replacement sort of as long as they need to. So that 4,000 is not lost if you don't like the person they give you.
Correct.
Very interesting. That could be well worth it. I mean, to pay 4,000 investment for not needing to have a $20 to $25 an hour salary, it could be really great. Now, are you expecting good English communication skills, verbal and written?
Yeah, so that's what I was asking, and they have all these like testimonials and videos and everything like kind of there. The English barrier is kind of not the issue. It's the time barrier that might be the issue. But again, that can sort of be adjusted depending on who the person is that you're working with. Like they could be adjusting their schedule to match our daylight hours or our working hours or your specific working hours. So I like them. I'm not like paid by them or anything. I haven't even used them yet, but I really do like how they've created this kind of win-win for people who need this kind of niche to be filled. And same like you, I was looking here in town. I was like, I need someone. I'll train them. I'll do whatever. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's going to take me like 200 hours of my life to do this properly, to train them properly, and everything like that. So if a lot of the background can be offloaded, that's great. And I know I'm still going to probably have to spend 60 to 80 hours training them. But there's a lot of content that they already have pre-developed to train you to train them as well. And one of the things that came up was whenever you're doing a task, just screen record what you're doing and put it in a folder so that they can watch it later. So
that's smart. Yeah, just walk yourself right through everything you're doing. They can see it. If they're clever and if they're interested, they'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
So that's a really good piece of advice. Okay, James, what are some final thoughts, a word of wisdom for somebody who wants to grow, wants to hit the ground running? You've obviously done it. What are you going to tell them?
I don't really have any wisdom other than just do something. Like every day, just like it's a slight edge type of mentality. Every day, just do like one little small useless, meaningless thing that gets you a little bit closer towards your goal. And that's it. That's literally all it takes.
Yeah, the idea that it compounds. Slight edges. I read like half that book and then I felt like I got it, and I just...
And compound effect is the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a lot of these books though, like a lot of people reading a lot of books, you kind of get the gist of it from the title. You know what you need to do, and then you procrastinate by reading the damn book. So like...
Very good point. Very good point. Okay, so where should people reach you if they want to learn more?
Instagram's definitely the best place. I don't know if they'll learn anything, but they'll definitely see some of my epic fails every now and then. So
cool. So it's james.ferns. How do you spell that? F-E-R-Z?
That's right. Yep. James.ferns on Instagram there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll include that in the show notes. James, it's really cool hearing your story. It's a little hard to believe that you've done so much so quick. And, I'm sure there's a lot more that we could talk about. So kind of depending on the feedback, whatever people want to know more, I would ask, email, or actually don't email, post on the video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening, maybe send me or James or both a note on what you would want to hear more from James, and then maybe we can do like a live stream or something in the future and kind of...
That sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you very much for doing this, James. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. I'll see you on the next one.